Hello, and thank you for joining the Disability Equity Office today. I'm Erin Metz, a senior accessibility specialist, joined by Katrina Johnson, providing ASL interpretation. Effective communication is a basic human right, and this workshop will discuss your duty under the Americans with Disabilities Act to provide access to effective communication within diverse groups, including those who are deaf or hard of hearing, have auditory processing disorders, and also those who may be neurodivergent. We will also cover communication strategies for employees and supervisors navigating the interactive process for workplace accommodations. As we want to keep our focus on how to help facilitate effective communication, we will very briefly discuss the ADA's requirements for effective communication. The definition of effective communication is fairly simple. It's a communication between two or more people wherein the intended message is successfully delivered, received, and understood. The main purpose of the effective communication requirement of the ADA is to ensure that communication with people with vision, hearing, or speech disabilities is as equally effective as communication with people without disabilities. To be clear and to avoid confusion, the ADA does not require that supervisors effectively communicate with employees and vice versa. The ADA does require entities to provide auxiliary aids to assist with meaningful understanding and participation by individuals with disabilities. We will be discussing strategies for more meaningful communication a bit later in the presentation. Ignorance or indifference to the law is not an excuse as to why someone should not provide an accommodation or should engage in any other prohibited practice, such as a failure to provide auxiliary aids or services, imposing eligibility criteria to screen out individuals with disabilities, whether in the hiring process or after, or imposing charges or fees to disabled individuals to cover the cost of providing accommodations. And of course, we can't discriminate based on disability status. Communication is key, so let's learn what that means. In the United States, approximately 1 in 4 people have a disability. 12 million people over the age of 40 have visual disabilities, 1 million of which are blind, and 3 million of which have a visual disability after correction, which can include glasses, contacts, or corrective surgery. 18 million people have disabilities related to their voice, such as damage to vocal cords or difficulty projecting their voice, a stutter, or another speech related condition. 30 million people have hearing loss in both ears, and 11 million have an auditory processing disorder. 66 million people have dyslexia, a learning disorder that affects reading and spelling, and sometimes writing and math as well. It's estimated that 15 to 20% of people in the United States are neurodivergent, which equates to an estimated 50 to 70 million people. There are several pervasive myths about communication and disability that are important to address. For instance, it's a misconception that individuals with communication disabilities possess lower intelligence. Additionally, some believe that those who cannot hear, speak, or see are unable to understand language. Another common myth is that if a deaf individual can utilize gestures or lip reading, these methods alone are sufficient for comprehensive and effective communication. But in reality, communication needs and abilities are highly individualized, and these assumptions can undermine effective interaction and inclusion. When communicating, individuals often make assumptions about others' behavior and engagement based on nonverbal cues. For example, expectations may exist regarding appropriate eye contact. Too little may be perceived as inattentive, while too much may be viewed as uncomfortable. Similarly, individuals may be judged if their gaze is averted, their eyes are closed, or they appear to be looking elsewhere. There are also commonly held beliefs regarding posture and movement. It's sometimes assumed that someone who is fidgeting, moving frequently, or doodling is not fully engaged in the conversation or the meeting. However, it's important to recognize that these nonverbal behaviors don't necessarily indicate a lack of attention or participation. People may exhibit various mannerisms for many reasons, and these should not be automatically interpreted as disengagement. There are many different ways in which individuals can communicate, and it's important to recognize and respect this diversity. For example, individuals who are blind may prefer to give and receive information audibly rather than in writing. Those who are deaf may choose to communicate through written text or sign language instead of spoken language. Individuals with cognitive disabilities might find it helpful to use written communication or lists in order to express themselves or process information. For those with language or other communication disabilities, communication can be facilitated through the use of fluency devices or speech generating systems. Effective communication is essential in all aspects of our lives, including the workplace, educational settings, and in our personal relationships. To foster more meaningful and inclusive communication, consider the following best practices. Ask about communication preferences. Inquire about how individuals prefer to communicate. So, for example, do they prefer email, face to face conversations, or some other method? It's also helpful to acknowledge that communication preferences might change depending on the context or even the environment. Use clear language. Avoid using idioms, sarcasm, jargon, or excessive acronyms, as these can create confusion or even exclude those who are less familiar with certain terms. Allow processing time. After posing a question, pause and silently count to 10. This provides others with adequate time to listen, process the question, formulate a response, and communicate thoughts. Focus on content over nonverbal cues. Prioritize understanding the message that individuals are conveying, rather than placing too much emphasis on facial expressions, tone of voice, or body language, as these nonverbal cues may vary widely among individuals and cultures. Model active listening. Demonstrate active listening by giving your full attention to the speaker. Make appropriate eye contact and provide verbal and nonverbal feedback that shows you're engaged and understanding the message. Don't equate directness with antisocial behavior. Remember that some individuals may communicate in a direct manner and may not engage in small talk. This should not be interpreted as being unfriendly or antisocial. Rather, it's just a different communication style. Provide context and advance notice. Whenever possible, provide some context for conversations and give advance notice about important discussions. This allows everyone involved to prepare thoughts and participate more effectively. Also, allow space to step away and regroup when needed. Recognize that it can be helpful to take a break from a conversation. Stepping away to collect thoughts and return later can lead to more productive and thoughtful discussions. We'll now discuss the 7 C's of effective communication. The first C is clarity. Effective communication requires us to be clear and deliberate with our messages. When we communicate with clarity, the recipient immediately understands what is being asked or conveyed. This minimizes the risk of misunderstandings and misinterpretations, making the process of understanding easier and more efficient for everyone involved. The second C stands for coherence. Coherence involves logically connecting all points within our communication to ensure consistency and a clear flow of our ideas. This structure lends credibility to our message, but also helps the audience follow along without confusion or frustration. Communication should be straightforward and accessible, rather than requiring the listener to navigate a complex maze to grasp the intended meaning. The third C is confidence. Communicating with confidence allows you to convey your message efficiently and assertively, enhancing both your credibility and your professionalism. Confidence in your delivery helps your audience trust both the information you are sharing and you as the communicator. By planning your message in advance, you're less likely to rely on filler words such as or as you have a clear understanding of what you wish to communicate and the meaning behind it. The fourth C is correctness. Communicating with correctness means carefully considering the accuracy and appropriateness of your message before you deliver it. When your communication is correct, it enhances the impact of your message, demonstrates professionalism, and improves comprehension. Additionally, correctness helps to prevent confusion and misunderstanding. The fifth C is conciseness. You need to be brief and stick to the point. So I'm going to read two statements and let you think about which one of these is easier to understand. The first statement: I need the quarterly reports completed by noon tomorrow. The second statement: Hi, Eleanor. How busy are you today? I know our office has been swamped and you've been really busy training Janet and working on our new database, but I have a meeting next week with Michael and I need to make sure we're able to show our monthly quotas have been met. Do you think you might be able to have some data available for me soon so I can review it? Which of these two statements was easier to understand? Hopefully, you're all thinking it's that first statement. It immediately identifies what is needed and when, whereas the second statement provides a lot of story and background, where it's much more difficult to weed through all of those words to determine what the communicator is actually asking of us. The sixth C is concreteness. Concreteness involves providing specific details and clear examples to paint an accurate picture for your audience. Being concrete helps maintain the listener's interest, reduces the risk of misinterpretation, and makes it easier for others to understand exactly what's being requested or being discussed. This clarity supports effective decision making and sets a clear course of action. And the seventh C is courtesy. Courtesy in communication means delivering your message with respect, kindness, and honesty. Approaching interactions with courtesy helps build rapport and trust among team members and colleagues. When individuals feel heard and appreciated, it fosters a more efficient, positive, and loyal team environment. Practicing courtesy involves considering the perspectives of others, showing respect, being polite, and exercising good judgment in your interactions. When we incorporate all seven C's into our communication, we create an environment where everyone can express their needs, wants, and ideas more effectively. This not only enhances understanding and collaboration, but also fosters innovation by encouraging open and meaningful exchanges of ideas. So now let's spend a little bit of time talking about accommodations that might be available to help with effective communication. Accommodations are also known simply as reasonable modifications, and public entities are required to make changes to their policies, practices, or procedures when it's necessary for an individual with a disability. However, sometimes these modifications may not be necessary if they fundamentally alter the nature of the service, program, or activity. There are a variety of accommodations available for individuals with print-related disabilities to ensure equitable access to visually delivered materials. These may include a qualified reader, someone to read information aloud, audio recordings, materials provided in Braille, the use of screen reader software, magnification software, or physical magnifiers, and large print materials. Ultimately, the goal is to provide any effective method that makes visually delivered content accessible to individuals with disabilities, tailored to meet their specific needs and preferences. Accommodations for individuals with speech disabilities can take various forms to support effective communication. These may include the use of assistive technology, text to speech software programs, interpreters, voice amplification devices, or augmentative and alternative communication, or AAC systems. For example, AAC devices, such as this tablet shown in the image, feature colorful words and images that allow users to construct messages. Once a message is typed or selected, The device's built-in speaker delivers it audibly to the intended receiver. This technology helps ensure that individuals with speech disabilities can communicate more independently and participate fully in conversations. There are also accommodations available for helping to decipher messages. Some individuals may have challenges with properly interpreting the meaning behind a communication or appropriately conveying their own message. Goblin Tools has a program called The Judge, which can help you decipher messages and determine the emotional context and tone. In the example here on the screen, I've typed into The Judge, effective communication is a basic human right, with an exclamation point. I've asked the judge to give me the tone of this statement. The judge tells me the statement, effective communication is a basic human right, conveys a strong sense of conviction and urgency. It suggests that the speaker views communication as fundamental to human dignity and interaction. This assertion may evoke feelings of empowerment as it underscores the importance of being able to express oneself and understand others. Other tools, such as Grammarly and UM's ChatGPT, can be valuable resources to enhance the clarity and conciseness of your communication, supporting the application of the 7 Cs. Additionally, these tools can help tailor your message to achieve the desired tone. For example, with UM's ChatGPT, you can type your statement and request to make this sound more assertive. The tool will then generate a revised version of your language accordingly. Utilizing these resources can help ensure your communication is effective, appropriate, and impactful. There are a variety of accommodations available for individuals with auditory disabilities to ensure effective communication and accessibility. For example, sign language interpreting is a key resource, and we're fortunate to have staff interpreters in the Disability Equity Office. Casey Ann, Casey, and Katrina, who are pictured here. Another important accommodation is CART, Computer Assisted Real-Time Transcription. It provides live, real-time transcription of spoken content. Additionally, video captioning can be used for pre-recorded materials to ensure accessibility. Other, value, accom- Other valuable accommodations include caption telephones, assistive listening devices, hearing aid compatible phones, and video phones such as FaceTime or other video calling technologies. These tools are essential in supporting equal access and full participation for individuals with auditory disabilities. It's important to recognize that lip reading, while it may be very useful for some, is generally not a reliable or highly effective form of communication. A 2011 study found that the average word recognition accuracy for lip reading was only about 10%. And while there are some individuals who become highly skilled and achieve much higher rates of accuracy, the average remains quite low. So, to help visualize this, imagine a sentence where only 20% of the words are understood and the remaining 80% are missed, represented here as words mixed with numerous dashes. With so many gaps, it's unlikely the person receiving the message would be able to fully comprehend it. Even with a 50% accuracy rate simulated in this next example, you can see there are still significant gaps and missed information. This demonstrates that while some information does get through, relying on lip reading alone can result in a substantial loss of meaning and very ineffective communication. If we were to see a 100% effective example of lip reading, or if we used an alternative for effective communication, we would know that if we were to engage in conversation with a deaf individual and we did not provide any type of effective communication, but relied solely upon the individual to lip read, they would likely not obtain any of the important information that was meant to be shared between the two parties. Now let's move on to some communication strategies and some suggestions for addressing some of the most frequently asked questions that we receive in our office. We'll start with some strategies for increasing effective communication, particularly when it comes to requesting assistance or accommodations in the workplace. It's important to be direct and clear when communicating your need for support. For example, you might say, I'm having difficulty concentrating due to the noise level in the room. Don't hesitate to state specifically what you think might be helpful, such as, can I move my workstation to a quieter area? Even if the response to your initial request is no, perhaps because there may not be a space available, there still may be alternative solutions, like the use of noise reducing headphones or sound absorption panels. If you're unsure about what you need or what might be helpful to improve your situation, that's okay. There are resources available to assist you, such as the Job Accommodation Network, which we call JAN, which provides guidance on workplace accommodations. Or you can consult with an accessibility specialist in the Disability Equity Office for personalized support. A common question we receive concerns how to discuss accommodations with employees in the workplace. It's important to remind supervisors and managers that under the ADA, an employee's medical information must remain private. And this privacy extends to the fact that someone is receiving an accommodation, as this could reveal information about their disability. When addressing questions from colleagues about workplace modifications, supervisors should avoid disclosing any details related to the individual's medical status or specific accommodations. A best practice is for the supervisor to simply state that a modification has been made to comply with federal law. Alternatively, supervisors can respond by saying, this information is private and I'm not able to share it. However, I'm happy to discuss any needs or concerns you may have. Protecting employees' privacy not only ensures compliance with our legal requirements, but also fosters a respectful and inclusive workplace environment. When it comes to employees discussing their own accommodations with coworkers, it's important to understand that the disclosure is entirely voluntary. Employees are not required to share any information about their accommodations, but they have the option to do so if they choose. The extent and nature of any information shared is completely up to that individual. Some employees may choose to advocate for themselves and share their experiences to educate others about their condition and how it impacts them, while others may prefer to keep this information private. Ultimately, the decision to disclose and what to disclose rests solely with that employee. It's also essential to select the appropriate medium or platform for communication. Effective communication involves carefully considering whether a conversation should take place in person or whether a virtual meeting, such as over Zoom or Teams, would be more suitable. Similarly, assess whether your message is casual enough to be conveyed through an instant messaging platform like GChat, or if a more formal and detailed email is required. Choosing the right communication method should be intuitive and tailored to the specific situation and audience, ensuring that your message is delivered effectively and respectfully. It's also important to ask the person you're communicating with about their preferred communication methods for various situations. Recognize that the individual preferences can vary widely. Some people enjoy engaging in small talk to start their day with greetings, hello, how are you, good morning, while others prefer to get straight to the point. Additionally, comfort levels with asking for help can differ. Some individuals are comfortable directly voicing their needs, while others may require a different approach or more time to express their requests. Being mindful of and adaptable to these preferences can help foster more effective and inclusive communication. It's also important to consider your audience when communicating. Sometimes the individuals you intend to reach may differ from those who are actually receiving your message. Understanding your audience is essential to ensuring your message is delivered effectively. Various demographic factors, including age, race, gender, and the audience's existing knowledge of the subject, can all influence how your message is interpreted and received. By taking these factors into account, you can better tailor your communication to meet the needs and expectations of your audience. One of the most important strategies for effective communication is practicing active listening. In today's fast paced world where multitasking is the norm and distractions are everywhere, truly listening can be challenging. However, active listening really is essential. It means dedicating your full attention to the person you're communicating with. Active listening involves more than simply hearing the words. It includes observing nonverbal cues, offering supportive verbal or visual feedback, and mirroring appropriate body language. It also means asking relevant questions, paraphrasing or summarizing to confirm understanding, and practicing non judgment throughout the conversation. Active listening requires you to set aside distractions and refrain from preparing your response while the other person is speaking. You're not glancing at emails, thinking about your to do list, or planning for what comes next. Instead, you're fully present and engaged in the exchange. We hope you found this information helpful and you feel more equipped to practice effective communication.